Well, hey there, teachers. I've got to say that these are crazy and challenging times. I've spoken to a number of teachers in recent weeks about the insane workload that you guys have had to endure. I've heard stories about teachers who have had to put up work 4, 5, 6 weeks in advance online just in case school didn't go back in term 2, which we now know is the case. But they had to do this whilst also teaching their students in person whilst COVID-19 spread throughout our communities. So yes, these are crazy and challenging times. But on the other hand, I also see them as being potentially some of the most exciting times that we've faced in education. If you're interested to find out how and why, hang around after the intro and I'll explain my thinking. Education has remained almost untouched for over 100 years. Let's think about this for a second. The way that we taught back in the 20s didn't look too dissimilar to what many classrooms looked like at the beginning of this year. That is a new decade of 20s just 1 century on. But then all of a sudden, enter coronavirus. It has literally shown up like an unwanted guest at a party and just destroyed everything that we have been working on for the past 100 years. There is no doubt about it that the educational landscape that we are now operating in is entirely different to what it looked like even 1 month ago. Back in 2013, I started putting together a whole range of resources and online learning flipped classroom videos that students could use to be able to learn from home.
Now when I say rates, you say gradient. Rates. Gradient. Rates. Gradient.
Let's not judge too much. I like to think that my dress sense has come a long way since then. But in recent weeks, I've had a number of teachers reach out to me and say, Tom, how do we create similar types of content? And my advice to you is simply don't. The reason for it is because we are now competing with the likes of Netflix and Xbox to a level that we have never had to compete with before. Students in the next week will literally be deciding between, do I play video games and watch TV, or do I complete the work that my teacher has set me? If we continue to deliver the same old stuff that we've always delivered, just in a different medium, then students are going to be running for the hills, figuratively speaking, of course, because they can't leave home, but they will be running for the hills like never before. Ask yourself this. If you were a student and you were having a look at the lessons that you were going to give them next week, would you rather do that or would you rather watch Tiger King on Netflix? If you find yourself saying, I'd rather watch Tiger King on Netflix, then you cannot turn around and say, I blame Carol Baskin. It just simply won't fly. So how do we do this? Well, I recommend starting with some hard questions. Like, what do we really want to teach? Do we want students to go through and learn all of the progression points from the curriculum? I'd argue that this hasn't inspired them for the past 100 years and probably isn't going to inspire them now either. Instead, I see this as being an opportunity for us as educators to refine and reconnect with our creative mojo. That is to come up with lessons that inspire students and reinvigorate the way that they see the subjects we teach them. And how do we do this? Well, I believe there's 3 different approaches that we can take. It's simple. Start with what inspires you about the subject you teach. And ask yourself, how can you recreate this for your students? What activities do you find fun? We interrupt this program to bring you an important special announcement. If you're not having any fun, then your students won't be either. My suggestion is to critically look at what it is that you're teaching and ask yourself, does this activity inspire me? And if your answer is no, what's the point? Passion is infectious. So ask yourself, does this make me passionate? And start with your passion and build on from there. Now, I'm not saying throw out the entire curriculum. In fact, far from it. But what I am saying is be brave enough to say, hey, I'm not going to address every dot point from the curriculum at this point in time. In fact, I'm not going to address lots of dot points from the curriculum at this point in time, as long as students are still engaging in meaningful learning. That's what's important. And in fact, there are parts of the curriculum that I think are perfect for this time that we currently face ourselves in. Things like the 4 capabilities, that is, critical and creative thinking, intercultural, ethical, and personal and social learning. These are brilliant places to start. I mean, think about it. At this point in time, we are in a global pandemic. I mean, what better lesson is there right now than to get students to explore what it means to flatten the curve? Get them to critically look at all of the mathematical statistics that are being thrown at them on a daily basis and explore what it is about exponential growth in respect to this virus and how it's devastating our community. Get them to think about the social and the economic implications of social distancing. These are genuine problems that we as humans are facing, and our students are no different. If we don't help them to understand this, then I believe that we're doing a disservice if we continue to just address the same curriculum dot points that we would always address, whilst forgetting about these real, genuine problems that our students are facing. Make learning genuine, make learning real, make it authentic, and make it engaging. And last, but certainly not least, in fact, this is possibly the most important out of all of the suggestions that I've put forward. And that is to put yourself in the shoes of the student and imagine things from their perspective. What are the kinds of things that you would like to do if you were a student? Is it playing video games? Is it going outside and being physically active, obviously while social distancing? Or is it going on the computer or watching Netflix or whatever it is? Is it TikTok? Is it any of these things? How can we build these ideas into the subjects that we're teaching? How can we use what they already love and are already passionate about, but put in the lesson content so that they can do what they like doing, but also learn at the same time? If we can get them to do that, then we've already won the battle. And that's all it is. It's about asking yourself a few simple questions. And this is how creativity and innovation flourishes. As someone who has already spent thousands of hours and thousands of dollars creating online videos for students to watch,
it's true. I once paid backpackers in cash to edit my videos.
My recommendation to you is simply don't. Spend your time coming up with genuine lessons that will really engage and excite your students and keep them coming back and wanting more. Let me give you one more thing to think about. Try and remember the good old days where you could just go down to a restaurant and order a meal and sit there and eat it. It's not too long ago, so hopefully that's not too much of a stretch. But when you get to this restaurant, you look at the menu and it all looks pretty bland. But you know what? You still decide to eat there anyway. As soon as the food comes out, you take your first bite and you realise it's every bit as bland as what you thought it might be. Let me ask you this. Do you think you'll go back to that restaurant again? My gut says probably not. And this is exactly the same scenario that our students are going to find themselves in 1 week's time when they go online for the first time and have a look at the lessons that we have provided them with. Are those lessons going to be something meaty that they're going to want to sink their teeth into? Or are they going to be bland and have our students deciding to not return again? Our job as educators has now changed. We cannot do the same stuff that we have been doing for the past 100 years. It is time for us to really look at what it is that we're teaching and re-inspire and reinvigorate the students that we teach in our subjects. If we continue to do the same things that we've always done, we will lose students, and students will fall further and further behind. Over the course of the coming months, I'm going to share with you a number of brilliant resources that you can use with your students that will genuinely engage them in learning through this new online landscape that we now find ourselves in. In the meantime, I highly recommend checking out this book here. It's called Teach Like a Pirate, and it is brilliant for getting those creative, pedagogical juices flowing. I love it so much, it changed the way in which I teach. In fact, I love it that much that if you share this video and like the Engage Me Mathematics Facebook page, you will go into the running to win a copy of this book. Just like pirates, we as educators now find ourselves in uncharted waters. Ask yourself this: are you going to use the same map that you've always used? Are you going to jump from one sinking ship to another? Or are you going to forge your own path and inspire the students that you teach? Just like pirates, it's time now to see these challenges as an opportunity to be bold, be brave, be creative, and try something new. Stay safe. My name's Tom Moore, and I'll see you next time.